Good morning, YouTube. What's happening? It's a nice cool morning here in Florida, and it's time to jump on a little video. Get some maintenance done since it's nice out. Well, the old ponchos are running really good, but having a little bit of problem with the suspension and alignment and things of that nature. Now I just, and I mean just, rotated my tires a few days ago, put the back tires on the front because the front tires, which are now on the back, were getting a little thin. So that tread is wearing out, and you can see all this brown mark here. That's where it rubs inside the wheel well when I turn the wheel. Let me show you the other side. The driver's side was really bad. And I was afraid it was fixing to wear through and destroy these tires. See that? Yeah, it's real smooth. Seemed like the driver's side was the worst. And what it does, and you can even see it starting to do it on this one. Anytime I step on the brakes and the front end kind of squats and I turn the wheel, it will rub on this back edge. And so I need to get that fixed. Now when I first kind of got into this car, I noticed there was those mechanical spacers on this front spring, and then there was wooden blocks jammed in the right rear. So front, left, right, rear had spacers in them. This doesn't make any sense. When I go down the road, it kind of has this funky like bounce to it. It wasn't fun. It has air shocks in the back, so don't really need to mess with that. But the front springs, I think, are just sagging and worn out. So I got something to remedy that. So I got in the Auto Rocks and ordered some springs and some new shocks, and hopefully this will cure my sagging issue. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. You ever seen anyone jack up a car? Good, me too. So we'll just skip that. Well, let's see. I've never done this before, so we're just gonna jump in feet first. I did watch a video though on a guy doing a 69 Chevelle, so I mean, it's an A body, this is an A body, this should be similar. He did disconnect the sway bar and I think the brake line, because by the time everything drops down it's gonna be hanging. So I didn't really want to bleed brakes, but I might end up having to bleed brakes. That nut, and a brake line, and then this thing should be able to drop down, hopefully. I did notice something else. See that? That upper ball joint still has rivets. And if you walk over to this side, this one has bolts. So that means that this one was replaced. And look, the boot is tore. So it looks like I'm gonna be replacing boot, maybe, and or ball joint. So yummy. All my other bushings are slightly in place for my control arms. But yeah, I'm gonna be doing springs and shocks on this go around. I'm not sure. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on this front end. So I guess no time like the present. Pitter patter. Let's get at her. All right, let's see, got the shock off. Let's see how this does. I mean, they don't look horrible, but yeah. Oh, there it goes. Slowly. I mean, I guess it's kind of working. Ended up snapping off the clip that bolts on the bottom of that. So now I get to buy another clip. That sucks. Okay, first spring out. A little bit of fighting to get it out of there, not bad. Ended up having to jack the side of the car up a little bit more with the jack all the way down. I want to keep the jack underneath that control arm, raise the car up enough that I can fish the spring out, which I was able to do. Now, the springs that I got here from the Rock of Auto places, Les Hjofjors. Sure. Let's see. I got my Gabriel shocks in the mail. They came with, the magnet in the box. These ones I opened the box and there was nothing in there, so just these boxes were packed again, so kind of sucks. The auto store kind of misses putting magnets in there occasionally, but there's a new, oh, hey, wait. Oh, there we go. They were hiding. All right, I got my magnets. Sweet. Let's go over and apply them. I don't think I have either one of these yet. Weird looking Firebird. There, and another Firebird. Cool. Those ones might end up on the kiddo's toolbox. Okay. Now I went with the 6-cylinder springs because, well, it's got a 6-cylinder in it. Yeah, they look pretty much the same. A little bit thicker. Anyway, can't tell much of a difference. The height is pretty much the same. There's really not much difference between the two. Hopefully the new one just holds the car up better. I thought about going with V8 springs, but since it's still a 6-cylinder, I figured what the heck, put the 6-cylinder springs back in it. I don't want one of those cars that's like really high in the front, you know, they look goofy. Anyway, I guess if I decide to put a V8 in it later on, then I'll have to change something. I gotta blow out the pockets because they're full of crap and dirt, and then I'll slap these new springs in. Okay, well, I broke my snap-on hammer, so I'm using my big brass hammer, that's Matco, to try and knock this in there. Got it set up in the cup, and now I'm just using the pry bar to kind of wedge the bottom over. I'm going to hit it with the hammer and knock it kind of into place. Try not to pry down on my brake line too much. If I need to bring this down a little bit. Okay, that's back on the jack stand. My angle's a little bit better. Make sure y'all are still watching. Too much crap in the way. Alright, I'm just going to have to hammer on that for a while. Through lots of banging and prying, it's finally sitting in there. But I got a problem. My sway bar is on top of my, basically where my ball joint needs to go. That needs to be underneath, but with the jack holding the arm up, it's tipped in, so I can't tip it out and tangle it basically. I gotta go pick up a clip for the shock so I can put the shock up in there, and then hopefully that'll kind of hold everything together so I can drop that back down a little bit and move everything where it needs to be. So I gotta run to the parts store. Let's see, new nut plate is installed, or I snapped the one off at the bottom of the shock. Okay, the biggest thing about this is I supported the brake drum when I dropped it down, so I could pull the shock out, put the new shock in, which I guess I could have probably done that before I did anything else, is pull the old shock out. But then, with this pushing up here, it tipped my brake assembly inward, and I couldn't get, you know, my sway bar was up above it and everything was kind of stuck in place. So took my backup jack, put it underneath where the shock went in, so that was already installed with the new hardware, and put the jack underneath that, jacked it up, which allowed this to just kind of fall out and pivot wherever. Good thing I knocked that loose because that would have probably snapped off. It was super tight, but everything was loose. So now that this is supported, the brake drum is supported by the upper control arm, I can go ahead and put my nut on, and that'll hold everything together because I have to leave for work in about 20 minutes. This will hold everything together so it doesn't fall apart and kill someone while I am at work. Well, good morning YouTube. I am back on the Lemans today. I got the passenger side finished up, put the sway bar link back in just moments ago, and now I'm starting on the driver's side. I went over and slid over here and pulled the sway bar link out first, and then on this side I was smart enough to pull the shock out right away before I did anything else. And over here, as you can see, oh, here's that one. So that one is barely moving now. It didn't even move the first time I pushed it in. Yep, there it is, and it stopped. These ones were made in Mexico. The ones I'm replacing it with, made in China. Hopefully they last a little bit longer. That being said, I'm going to pop out the clip for the brake line. I think all I got left is the upper ball joint. Pop that loose, and then it should be ready to pop out of there. Let me get my jacks in place. Alright, let's see if we can get this sucker to bust loose. There's still a little bit of tension on it. I actually need to turn the wheel the other way. Hey! It's alright. Quality. Stay on there. There it goes. Nice. I got new boots from O'Reilly's in the help section. Put on that ball joint there so it'll hold grease. New boot, grease everything, good to go. Alright, I'll lower that down, see if I can get that spring out of there. Of course, it always catches on that sway bar, so it needs to actually kind of rotate backwards ever so slightly. There it goes. Not sure if y'all can see anything with it being backlit or front lit, shadowed, I don't know. Let's see. Don't remember how I did it this last time, but I just pried on crap until it fell out. There it goes. Kind of. And if I need to come down a little lower. There it is. And that's still intact. Good. Took a screwdriver, chiseled all the old dirt and mud and crap out of there, broke that up, and blew that out. And so now I'm going to put the new spring in. This is the fun part. Those look good. Still hold in place. What a weld. Let me jam this up in there, and that whole fun experience. Alright, I'll save you all the boredom of watching me struggle with this. It'll actually be entertaining, it's just going to eat up a lot of video. Okay, I cheated. I went and got the spring compressor from O'Reilly's, and man, what a difference. That made it so much easier. Yeah, it's fine thread, threads up through the center, and man, what a huge difference in just ease of, I just set the spring right in there. So alright, the screw, you got to think ahead because the screw has to go out through the bottom through the shock hole. So I'm going to go ahead and run that out of there, and it should be in place. Alright, well, like I said, that spring compressor made everything a lot easier, but I'm not going to lie, the getting the mechanism, the spring compressor out of the spring afterwards, is probably the hardest part. good because it was just it was wedged inside of there. Yeah, you have to completely disassemble the tool in order to get it out of that spring. So if you have an impact, because it is fine thread, run the middle bolt all the way out of it, and then you can pull the tool out through the shock hole. Actually, no, pull the bolt out through the shock hole, and then the tool flattens out, and you can pull it out through the coil. Anyway, now that that's done, I'm going to get my shock installed, and that will be everything as far as that's concerned. Okay, well, just getting it finished up. I ended up having to put the jack back underneath because when they're all the way down, that nut was touching that nut, so I couldn't tighten anything up, and everything was in the way. So good job on the geometry there, guys. Right on, right on. Okay, everything's greased. All the grease zerks took grease very well on all the steering and the ball joints and everything, except for this one on this side. Of course, that's the ball joint that was replaced, and you know, of course, it's the one that wants to be a pain in the butt and not really take grease. It did. Probably about 50% of the grease went in. The other half just kind of squirted out around the nipple. But other than that, everything else is done. All the clips were back in the brakes. Let's see, new cotter pins. And it's ready to put the wheels back on and take it for a little test spin. Okay then, front tires are on. Now, not that I really assumed that putting springs and shocks on this car were gonna fix this problem, but you see when it's off the ground how the tires like sprawl out at the bottom, the top leans in. Why does it do that? I don't know. I've never had another vehicle that did that. You know, I could really put a lot of thought into it, or I could just ignore it, pretend that it was fine, because when the tires are on the ground, they're straight up and down. Not to mention the fact that, you know, it was eating the crap out of the outside edge of my front tires, but that's beside the point. So, I'm going to torque these, set it down on the ground, and hopefully the test drive is nice and smooth, and nothing falls off. Oh, here's another little fun fact. My lug nut decided to just decapitate itself. There's a little cap that I guess is normally soldered on, welded on, I don't know. But it came off, so now I have a chrome lug nut with no cap. So it looks poopy. Oh well, Chinese stuff, what are you gonna do? Alright, well, that's everything torqued. Go ahead and let it down. Hey! It's supposed to let down. Okay. I promise you, these are 6-cylinder shocks. Or 6-cylinder springs. Oh my god! I've got a Carolina squat going on. Oh my god, that thing sits so high. Okay, I know, they will probably set down eventually, but that's not exactly the look I was going for. Oh my god. Oh, I hope that sets down some. Wow, I gotta gas up my air shocks just to make it ride level. Dang. Alright, hold on. Well, that's with 60 psi on my shocks. So, yeah. So I'm guessing it's just going to ride high in front for a little while. But, I mean, even looking in my rearview mirror, that thing, all I can see is ground because that nose is sitting so high. I mean, it'll come around, I think. Let me drive it for a little while and see, you know, kind of how things come along. Oh, but the fact that the car is almost level and my driveway slopes down, yeah, that's definitely a big thing. Man, this thing is sitting so freaking high. Let's see where we're at. See my shadow? Nice. This thing is at 28 inches, 28 and a half inches to the lip. That is crazy. This thing probably came up, let's see, about at least 2.5 inches. I think it just barely cleared the tire before. Ow, 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 ow. Well, hopefully it comes back down, because that's pretty ridiculous. Yeah, sits like a gasser. Doesn't handle as well. Hopefully when it comes back down it'll handle a little bit better. I do have to get the alignment fixed and a few other little things. At least the tires aren't rubbing. That's the main thing. You know, since this thing's been sitting so high in front, I think I'm going to try a little experiment. Well, this is kind of serving two purposes. Because I need to check my rear brakes, and I also want to check another rim to see if it actually fits this that I picked up from the junkyard. This is a 14-inch American Racing wagon wheel. Nothing crazy, but I just want to see if it would fit. I thought it was a Ford pattern. It is. 5 on 4.5. Okay. Well, that's all dry. So that's not my drum or my wheel cylinder that's leaking. You know what? I should clean that up and paint it. Got my brake drum all de-rusted and painted. Then I went ahead and painted the center of the axle also. So whatever's sticking out looks nice and black. I'm not going to put the mag wheels back on because I need to get some hub-centric spacers for it. So I'm just going to throw on the spare tire for now. Alright, got my nuts cleaned up. They're nice and shiny now. Because even on black rims, some nice shiny chrome lug nuts look awesome. What do you think? Kind of looks like a super stocker. That's neat. Got the front end way up high and those just black wheels in the rear. Not as impressive on this side with the Cavalier / S10 wheel. But you know what? It's kind of doing its thing. And this is a 14, the other side's a 15. Oh well. Yeah, I need to get another one of those 15s. They look awesome. I got a set of tires over there too to put on them. For now, that'll work. I still got to figure out those front springs. I've been driving around on these springs for a couple months and they're just not working out at all. They still sit way too high. I put smaller tires in the front not to compensate for the problem, well, temporarily, but it still sits way too high. So I'm going to jack it up. I'm going to cut a coil out and see if that makes a big difference. So hopefully it does. Okay, just for comparison, that's how high it sat in front before. And this isn't even without a shock. So the height of 27.5 inches to the top of the wheel well. This one with a cut coil goes to just under 26. So I know it's going to drop a little bit more because the other side is still raised, but I mean, yeah, that's a big difference. So it's a lot more level. All right, just got the driver's side spring cut. Hopefully this one goes in easier. I ended up having to get the spring compressor to put that one in originally, and pulling it out this time was still kind of a bear. Just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to drop down as much, or there's more crap in the way, I'm not sure. But hopefully it goes in easier now that it's shorter. Okay, finally done. Going on to the third day of working on this thing. I'm horribly sweaty. Only got a couple hours of work on it, but that's all I needed to finish it up. So let me show you where I got. All right, just got to lower it down and it'll be ready to go. Got to torque the wheels back on, but they're on there for now. I got the whole driver's side back together just to find out that the shock nut plate had popped off and wedged underneath the spring. So I had to take that all apart again, drop the control arm down, unwedge the spring, pop the nut plate out, just to find out that it had actually broken, just like this side did originally when I took it apart, and was completely useless other than it was under the spring and, you know, whatever. But yeah, so I had to find another nut plate, which I did have one, thank goodness. But it's all back together now. The spring did pop back in with little to no effort compared to last time, but I was able to get it in there with just my tools. Anyway, I'm gonna get it off the jack stand, set it down, and show you where it's at. Okay, here we go. There it is, a final ride height. Let's see where we're at with the tape measure. Now remember, originally we're at 27.5, and that was with no shock because I forgot to measure it beforehand. So now we're down to a grand total of just over 25 3/4. So it dropped it down over 1.5 inches, and that's with shocks and everything. So awesome. That should handle a lot better. Hopefully I won't drag my tailpipe pulling in and out of my driveway anymore, which is ridiculous at a stock ride height vehicle. Scraping my pipe. So even my daughter's lowered Miata doesn't scrape the tailpipe. Ridiculous. Anyway, there it is. Next thing to know is a test drive and make sure that I can actually see out of my mirrors this time. Okay, that's a much better stance. My air shocks are down a little bit also, but got those aired up and now she's sitting pretty level. Let's take it for a ride and see what it looks like. Well, here we go. This is a lot better. I can actually see out my mirror. Look at that. I can see if there's a car behind me. The tail isn't dragging on the ground anymore. Yeah, it rides really nice. Yeah, much, much better. So we'll see when I get up to speed, but right here just cruising on the side streets, it runs really good, drives well. Like you can see, I can see up my mirror. Somebody's behind me or to the side. Just beautiful. Oop, stop sign. Alright, well, that's going to wrap up this video. The suspension on the Lemans is working out fantastic. It rides really nice. Seems to handle much better. So anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Good luck with your projects, and God bless. And for those of you who follow shorts, this is what I was doing with the budget neon, or the beater neon, the cheapio neon. The hood paint was wrecked on this thing, so this is what it ended up looking like. The paint came out fantastic. However, my clear coat looks like dog crap. Don't know what happened. I guess I'm not good at shooting clear. Anyway, so at an angle, looks kind of neat. But yeah, car needed a little bit of work, fixed it up. And on top of that, I added the RT badge. You know, why not? Finish cleaning this thing up and then get it finished up and then probably sell it. Anyway, thanks for watching.